That's about all I remember of it, you know. And before like dreams, you shift gears so often, right? You're on to something else, all over the place. The mind is a trip, man. But if you read what I read this morning, chapter 11, the book of John, New Testament, and this idea, Jesus just, he intermixed this idea of death and sleep with his friend Lazarus that died. And it was Jesus, that needs to be convinced that, no, he's dead. You don't understand. He's long dead. But, you got to read it for yourself. But it's comforting. It's a source of solace for those that fear death for themselves or others. And, we should take our own death seriously because we're going to inevitably, we're going to impose a lot of grief on those that love us a lot, right? It's going to really suck for them. So death is a big deal. And, this is where scripture comes in. I mean, there's nothing more precious than this idea that there really is a way out. At least that's the promise if we have a little bit of faith. And what's the option? What's the alternative to not having a little bit of faith? What do you got? It's just bleak. It's non-existence. It's like, wow, this great gift of human existence, experience, and it just the five senses and just everything about the wonderment having a brain. And you think how many times a day we use that thing, and do we thank God 1/10 of the time when we're using it? We go, wow, thank you. I remembered that. I almost forgot, but I prayed. You could test for yourself. You're not supposed to test. What's the term I'm looking for? Minute. It's of no consequence really, and minutia. And how could God care about the minutia in your life? Well, believe it or not, He does. Look, God is living in you. God is life. He's our life. We're living vicariously through God. God is living vicariously through us. It's a whole wild, gigantic, in proportions, eternal tapestry, and we're a part of it. Okay, we're a part of something. I mean, to say big is a wild understatement, okay, because we're talking universal and we're talking eternal, infinite, okay, this thing called life. That's what He wants for His kids. But we all know we got to surrender the body. And whether we're living in that generation where our bodies will morph, where this body of death will meet a body of life, we don't know. I can't be sure that I am, or even that I'll be found worthy and deserving of inheriting a perfect world. Maybe my heart's impure in ways that I don't know that's going to exclude me. But one thing I know for sure, I don't want to go with the money lovers. Okay, these are going to be the most miserable bunch of madmen stuck together. Could you imagine? Because you couldn't relinquish your hold, your love for money, because you've been so successful. You see the pitfall in being rich. Like Christ said, it's easier for a camel. I mean, He was being wildly hyperbolic, right? To say that, make this statement, but He said it's harder for a rich man to go to heaven than for a camel to fit through the eye of a needle, which we know is absurd. It's absolutely and utterly impossible, incontrovertibly, irrefutably, inarguably impossible to fit a camel through a needle. I mean, maybe one drop of blood at a time, but to do it whole, we know that's preposterous. So this gives you an idea of how God feels about money. And we should all get that through our heads because we're all money lovers. That makes us a little bit evil because the love of money is the root of what? All evil, not some of it, all of it. Believe it or not, all of it. There would be no evil. Now, I don't know everything. I don't know about this thing we call clothing. If we're ever going to get over our hang-ups about nakedness, I don't know. Because that's hard for me to conceive. But I've spent a lot of time contemplating living in a world without any form of money, and that realization, actualization in my mind is very tangible. It's very real. I can imagine that, and you can too. You can imagine how that would work. And it's simply understanding that at birth, this planet belongs to God. You belong to God. You are God's equally beloved child. All of us are. And you put yourself in God's position. When it comes to money, you say, well, wait a minute. No, 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 no. This earth is vastly rich with resources that God imbued it with. And those belong to all of us equally. This transcends politics, all economics. None of that stuff matters anymore. When you see things through God's eyes and you go, oh my God, it's true. But it's such a departure from the way we've been trained that it's traumatic for people. And they don't want you to spend any time thinking about that. Oh, that's a nightmare. That's a nightmare for evil men that love their lives in this world, that love having an advantage over others. Okay, you understand? They love money, and there's some people that will do anything. I mean, when you see spouses killing each other for insurance money and crap, I mean, it just, can you imagine? I mean, not just, when you get caught for something like that, but I mean, how in hell do you face God on the day of reckoning? You did what to my precious living sculpture, biological sculpture, this human being? You did what to a child? You did what to a woman? You did what? Oh, where are you going? I mean, maybe you go with the money lovers, and you're just going to be subservient to them. I don't know. Maybe they will have a group of people that are more evil than themselves. Maybe some of the money lovers, weren't that bad that they didn't kill people, but they still couldn't break away from their love of money, and they did not want to live in a world where they couldn't gain an advantage over others with money or some form of money. You understand? That's why bartering is out. That's out of the question too. No, we work together as a family. We get what we want, just like we have now. We have factories. We do stuff. You see, it's very abnormal, very unnatural for a man to be content. People say, oh, there'd be all these lazy people in a scenario like that, and they just want to sit on the beach. Good. Let them have to it. They're mentally ill. They're not well. That is not something that someone in their right mind is going to do, because we're going to want to be appreciated. We're going to need to be useful. The world has been handed us on a silver platter. We were born with a silver spoon in our mouth, each and every one of us. You understand? It negates the use of any need for money. We don't need. Why would you need money? In a world where it's established at birth that you were born vastly wealthy because of the resources that exist on the planet. You get it? So when you look at it like that, you see how it transcends political and all theater and economic theater and this whole freaking madhouse theater that we're subjected to from birth. And our parents were. If you think your parents were effed up and you never heard of a functional family, well, you see where we get it from. Because we're being rendered, whether we know it or not, in image and likeness of evil men. That's it. Madmen. So yes, there's a degree of madness in all of us. And goes back thousands of years. There was always madmen. There was always psychos out there. Okay, because the worst psychos are never diagnosed. We pick up, oh, well, this guy's got Munchausen syndrome or Stockholm syndrome, or this one's bipolar, this one's got schizophrenia, this one's mentally ill somehow, other how. There's a million and one ways you can be mentally ill. But, they didn't have these kind of diagnoses thousands of years ago. It was just the demon possession. How else? I mean, just, hey, nobody in the right mind would do that. They weren't in the right mind. That means they were possessed by demonic spirits to do it. Because if you weren't possessed by demonic spirits, you would never have done that. And the psychiatrists will say that's the same, but they just call it a mental illness. You understand? Oh, well, we could fix them with enough therapy, maybe. Maybe. But maybe they don't want that help. Then what? You understand? It's just like a drug addict, any other kind of addict. Okay? You got to want to help. If you don't want help, then you're not going to seek help. But this need for escapism is prevalent in our society, and you wonder why it is. We got all these vices and addictions, and you say, well, people are trying to run, not walk away from reality that's been shoved down our throats from birth. Right? What a pain in the butt. We want to escape. Of course we do. We want to anesthetize ourselves. I understand the counterculture very well. Oh, yeah, man, you don't want to fit into this scene. You want to be a misfit. I get it. Big time. I get it. Me neither, man. I want freedom. I want freedom. And I don't just want it for myself because I realize nobody's going this thing alone. No man is an island unto himself. You want to be happy, then you please your parents because they're the grantors of any happiness that's worth a crap, any true happiness. They're the givers of it, okay? And if you don't have their stamp of approval, if they don't like you, they're going to love you even if you're a stinker and you're all screwed up in the head. Your values are wrong. Your opinions are wrong. Your mindset is wrong. Your values are wrong. They're still going to love you, but what you want is that friendship. You want them to like you. You want to be happy. And then that's when you realize all this information, knowledge, wisdom comes into your life, into your heart and mind. And you realize, wow, how different the true reality is from the one that's been imposed upon me from birth. This is all BS reality. It's madness. Madness. Just wanton, vast, unmitigated madness in this world. Unchecked, man. Unbridled. And it really blows. I mean, I don't know how else to put it, but, it sucks. I hate it, man. I don't care how good my life is in terms of, wow, I've got financial security. I've got financial freedom. I've got prosperity. I'm somebody. I'm successful, blah, 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 blah. If he doesn't approve of it, and he wouldn't, how can it when better men and women than me suffer needlessly to this day? And we constantly crisis. You know how long they've been calling us a crisis? Where the frick is the UN coming into America saying, you got to end this homelessness, man. This perpetual homelessness, this perpetual homeless crisis, man. Where's the United Nations in America? Bring them in, man. Where are they down in these South and Central American nations? Where are they, man? Are they where the money is? Is that why they're over in, we got to be with NATO. We don't want to be with dangers down there. Bunch of cowards. You come here, you see America. Let's transmit images of homeless encampments in America down to Central and South America and say, don't expect nothing. This is how we treat our own native-born sons and daughters. Don't expect squat unless you're willing to be a criminal. And then, we'll take care of you then. 3 hots and a cot, free utilities, free medical, free rent, help reintegrating later. But you got to commit a crime. That's the caveat. So sorry. Because that's the status quo in America today. And that's pathetic. That's pitiable. That's shameful. To call ourselves a Christian nation, a rich nation, we're $30 trillion in debt. What kind of nuts are out there calling America wealthy? The only thing they got the military is what's backing up that debt. You say, well, you don't like it? You don't like American dollar dominance? Well, hey, we've got a very strong, powerful military, so it's a fear-driven world system, fear-driven society. A new world order is here. It's in full bloom. I just paid well over $6 for a dozen eggs. One dozen eggs the other day. I mean, these are eggs that sell for less than $2 normally. So that's like a 300% increase on eggs, at least, since Biden took office. Is there a relationship? I don't know. It's suspicious because we're financing this war in Ukraine. That's why we all know the gas went up overnight to fund this war in Ukraine. He's giving them billions of dollars to kill Russians. And there's no winners. There's never going to be a winner in this war. Is there a winner in Ireland? Do you think, do the Brits feel like they won because they're still in Northern Ireland? Is there any kind of sense? They're trying to get along with each other, man. The Irish Republican Army and all this. You think that there's a lot of seething hatred, past wrongs, and people, the family's been killed and everything. It's like, because the Russians and Ukrainians have a close like that. It's a similar type of relationship. They're all stuck in the same landmass.